Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to watch a J.J. Abrams film. This is Mission Impossible 3, a second look. Um, I've been going through the Mission Impossible franchise, getting ready for Dead Reckoning, and this film is so weird. It's so weird to watch these films back to back in the beginning. Now, once you get to Ghost Protocol, there's actually some thought put into, hey, you know what? Maybe these films should be coherently like linked together somehow. You know, they kind of rein in the style. But once again, we have another director coming in who has a very different style than the previous director, who's changing it up and trying to do something interesting, but that represents who they are, who J.J. Abrams is. J.J. had a lot to prove. He hadn't really proven himself yet as a film director. This film came out, I want to say, what was it, 2006? Is that right? I want to say it was 2006. Um, that feels right for me. Uh, and, this is in the middle of Lost. He had just done Alias, so this was his opportunity to go, hey guys, look at what I got. Coming off of John Woo's Mission Impossible 2, I guess he thought he had a green light to reinvent the franchise. He is one of the things I know a lot of people don't give J.J. Abrams credit for, but one of the things that he did do was bring Simon Pegg into the universe, who has been very instrumental in repeated films. This is where they kind of keep the Mission Impossible lore, and Ving Rhames is still here. Philip Seymour Hoffman is excellent in this film. Fuck you if you think he's not. He is fantastic in this film. Um, he feels like the kind of villain that fights you because he's 10 steps ahead of you on the chessboard. Not because he can throw a punch, but because he already threw his punch. You just don't know it yet. So that's what he's really good at. He's got some really great scenes, some very sort of like emotionally deadpan things that he says to Ethan. It's a great performance from him, and he's a great villain. Like, if we were talking about the Mission Impossible villains from each film, he definitely would be high, really high on the list, especially compared to what we've had in the last two films. He's way more memorable than villains from the first and second films. So, yeah, uh, great choice there. Michelle Monaghan is actually really good here. I don't like the fact that they just don't address what happened to Tandy Way Newton. They're just like, I don't know. Like, in a weird way, they could have addressed it because Tom has to go rescue somebody, but he rescues Carrie Russell. So I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's just they just relationships, they just don't work out. I don't know. It just didn't happen. So we just move on. Um, yeah, it's kind of a weird film like that, but we do have new heads of the agency. We got Lawrence Fishburne here, who I feel like this is the only film he's in. I don't think he's in Ghost Protocol. Billy Crudup, who reminds me so much of his role on the Morning Show right now. Rewatching this and seeing Morning Show, I'm like, he's very good at playing this type of thing. I feel it, and it's kind of scored by Michael Giacchino. I mean, of course, he's got the Mission Impossible score, like the theme, right, that he's working with. But I didn't realize until, thank God for the audio description, actually narrating some of the credits. I didn't know Michael Giacchino did the score for this. I was like, oh my God. No wonder that the score has more of that pounding um, action sequence, sort of maybe like a Jason Bourne. This feels like it was influenced a lot by the Bourne franchise, more so. It's very different from how John Woo saw his films. This is very fast paced, very uh, almost like shaky cam. I'm assuming was used. I'm trying to visually remember this film. It's been a while, but I have seen this before, and it has its own pace. It's a little bit longer, and you do kind of feel the length a little bit more. But at the same time, I think it makes good use of the time. It's just I feel like when you compare this to the first film, I believe the runtime is longer. Um, and I know the running time gets longer for some of the other films. So, yeah, I like this. The audio description here is really good. It's really fantastic. I have no complaints. There are less memorable moments for me visually, other than like the scenes where they're trying to swap the masks. That whole sequence with him and Philip Seymour Hoffman, I did remember all of that. That came back to me visually. And hanging him out of the plane. Uh, so like, there's some things that came back to me, and I was like, yeah, the audio description here is nailing it. But the John Woo thing, he does have a couple iconic moments in there that I was like, when the audio description hit, I was like, oh my god, the doves. I remember the doves. It's like so. Yeah, this one has a little bit less of that, but still, um, it helped me to remember the film, and I had a great experience with it again. And this is a film I like, and this is turning the tide. This is rebuilding what John Woo started to break down and started to sort of make into sort of like a generic. If John Woo had been able to continue with the franchise, it never would have made it past like a third film. It never would have. It would have died. It wasn't going in that direction. Um, but JJ comes in, he kind of hits a restart button on the whole thing. Adds Simon Pegg, who ends up Benji just becomes such a great addition to the series, and you don't even know it yet. I mean, he's great in this film, but I love that we've kept him around and not just Ving Rhames anymore. It was like Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg. So, I like this film. I like it a lot. However, it's weird because I think back in the day I would have given this film an A, not knowing that there was more to come, not knowing where this franchise could go. And the problem with that is now I know where this film franchise goes. And I know what it can be, and I know where it can push more. But there's something to be said about almost that there's an effect of when you bounce back. And you can almost over project a film because you're like, oh, thank God. That after a bad entry in a franchise, you're like, oh, we fixed it. you know, um, like I think after the last couple X-Men movies from that we've had, I think whatever the next X-Men film is, the bar is so low right now, coming after Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. Oh my God. Whoever that person is just basically has to direct like a decent movie and they'll be fine. But yeah, this is it's kind of like that's what happened with First Class, if we're being honest. Matthew Vaughn's First Class is good. It's not mind-blowing, but it did follow X-Men 3, The Last Stand, the Brett Ratner film. So yeah, that's a great case of what I'm talking about here. Is that sometimes you remember a film being better than it is within the confines of a franchise, simply because the entry before it was not good. So I'm going to give Mission Impossible 3 an A minus, because I can't just put them all at A. And pretty much everything else after this is I love, from Ghost Protocol on. Yeah, it's it's fantastic. So I'm assuming I haven't seen Dead Reckoning yet. I'm building up to that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and thanks for sticking with me on these rewatches and me fanning out on this franchise. I love it. It's a great franchise. And even my lowest graded film was a B minus. I gave a B minus to Mission Impossible 2. So, it's what it is. Everything would be rated positive for me So, you can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at Mac Movie Guy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description, where you can watch it. This whole damn thing is on Paramount Plus. So it's a Paramount franchise. You can watch the whole franchise with audio description on Paramount Plus. And you can go to theada.org and it'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. Unfortunately, Paramount Plus doesn't let me watch credits, so I never know who the audio description is on these films. But they feel like I've had a different narrator every single time. I got to be honest about that, which I thought is interesting. I would have thought, because a lot of, especially with the older films, that when they went back and put them on, that they would just hire like the same person. I don't think they did that. I think these have been 3 completely different narrators. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.